Creative block. Oh man, does that suck. It's that invisible wall that every writer, artist, musician, creator has faced at some point. Any creative who tells you that they haven't experienced any form of block and the second they started their craft till right now, they're lying. Everyone goes through it. Everyone. It is frustrating, it's disheartening, feels like it's gonna go on forever, and it seems so personal at times. What if I told you that creative block is not just something random, but something that science can explain? And more importantly, what if I told you that there are actionable steps in order to overcome it every single time? Let's talk about it. First, let's define what it is that we're actually dealing with. Creative block is a state where your ability to produce new ideas or finish creative tasks becomes stifled and sometimes even just completely paralyzed. But why does this happen? Creative block often stems from mental fatigue, stress, or self-doubt. Chronic stress reduces activity in the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain responsible for creativity, decision-making, and problem-solving. This makes it harder to generate innovative ideas or focus on tasks. That right there, the stress that you're experiencing, and no matter what aspect of your life, we all experience all this stress, that stress has a direct impact on your creative output. This makes it harder to generate new ideas or to focus on your current tasks. And for me personally, I've experienced that a ton. So why does it feel so personal? So much of what creators do is intertwined with their identity. Creators invest so much of themselves into their work. It's not just about the output, it's about feeling capable and inspired. So when they're not delivering or when they're not producing the way that they're used to, that's why it feels so personal. Before we dive into how to overcome it, we need to understand its root causes. And here are the most common reasons. 1. Perfectionism. Pressure to create something flawless can just lead to paralysis. Studies show that perfectionists are more likely to procrastinate because they fear failure. Being able to look at something and just say this is completed, that's one of the hardest things to do when it comes to your art. Number 2, burnout. Overworking without proper rest can completely drain your creative energy. Symptoms include exhaustion, lack of motivation, a sense of detachment for your work, no motivation. 3, fear of judgment. Constantly worrying about how your work is going to be perceived by others is a gigantic reason that holds people back and something that I struggle with deeply. Spending so much time worrying about how your work is going to be perceived can completely inhibit your ability to finish something, let alone even start it. 4, overstimulation. Constantly consuming other people's work can lead to comparison. If you find yourself just doom scrolling all the time trying to find inspiration, it can actually be doing the opposite for you. 5, lack of routine. Creativity thrives on structure. Without any form of consistent practice, it's so easy to fall out of habits. So now that we've unpacked some of the causes, let's dive into the solutions. These strategies can apply to any art form. First thing I like to do when I am just completely struggling to produce anything creatively, first thing I'm going to do is change my environment. Science shows that a new setting can stimulate fresh ideas. Try working in a different room, try going to a cafe, try just going for a walk outside. So if you are a music producer, take your laptop and headphones to a park. The change of scenery might inspire something new. 2, set micro goals. Breaking a gigantic goal of finishing a big project into smaller, more achievable steps, you're much more likely to achieve that goal. Completing those smaller goals will help you build momentum, so you're much more likely to finish that project. So for myself, instead of saying, I'm gonna finish this track today, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna work on the mixing part today. Or I'm going to finish this bass line today. I'm gonna break down the much larger part into smaller, more achievable goals. Looking at it this way has helped me finish music so much faster. 3, practicing freely, independent of any goal. Sometimes when you're sitting there and you're trying to force yourself to make something good, you sit down and you're like, I need to make the best track ever, or I need to outline the best idea for a book. Sitting down and just creating for the sake of creating whatever craft it is that you have, doing it without any goal in mind and just to create can help you spark new ideas. It alleviates you from the pressure of having to complete or work towards a certain goal. And if you're just focusing on creating, something is going to come of that. This just alleviates you from that pressure of having to create something good or having to create something because you have a deadline coming up. If you take a step back and you just create for the sake of creating, you're gonna find more often than not that you're gonna start a new idea or you're gonna learn something new that drives you to create something, and you're gonna find yourself being more productive than you ever thought you would, but you have to show up in order to get there. So an example like this, for me, if the creative juices aren't flowing, I'll just go into Ableton, I'll just start twisting knobs. I'll just start playing around with a bunch of different sound design tools until I find something cool. It doesn't have to be something that I'll ever use in a track. Maybe it will, but at least it'll inspire me to stay in Ableton and just continue to work until something fits, because it will after a long enough time. Sometimes I'll just focus on sound design without having to write a certain song. It's just twisting a bunch of knobs until something sounds cool. That's pretty much what I do anyway. 4, limit distractions. Block out a set time for yourself where your focus is uninterrupted. In my last video, I talked about having your own dedicated workspace, and wherever it is that you live, it could be just a tiny corner that you have your desk at. Having your own dedicated workspace and a place where you can just completely separate your personal time from your craft and block yourself out and block off a set of time for you to be there and only working creatively, something that has done wonders for me. Create a workspace that is clean, that is organized, reducing any mental clutter. Nothing will be competing for your attention, and just sit down and block off set times for you to focus on creative tasks. Put your phone away, turn off your messages on your computer so they're not on your screen. There are other resources that you can use like Forest or Freedom where you can minimize any form of digital distractions. 5, revisit old work. Sometimes looking at any unfinished or older projects that you have can rejuvenate a creative spark. I can't tell you how many unfinished projects I have on my computer, but sometimes when I'm not feeling creative or I'm struggling to get any writing done, I'll go back into a previous project and I'll find some inspiration there, or maybe even I'll finish a track that I started 2 years ago. At the time I didn't have the skills or I couldn't finish it, but now I'm coming at it from a completely different angle. And it's still mine, so it fits in with what I was already going to write. Reworking an old project can lead to some new and unexpected inspiration. 6, engage in a different creative outlet. Switching to another art form can help boost your type of creativity. Hear me out. If you're a musician, try sketching out something. If you're a writer, try painting. Unlocking these different creative parts of your brain can actually help boost your creativity in general and your confidence and your feeling that you're capable. So when you go back into your main form of creating, you'll feel a bit more rejuvenated. You'll have some creative spark because you did something creatively just without the pressure in a different field. 7, collaborate with others. Working with other people on a project can help introduce new perspective and new ideas. I can't tell you how many times I've been completely stuck on a track. I sent it off to a friend. We ended up working on it together because to them it was something new and completely unique. And I've been on the other end of that, where people have come to me with projects that they just have no idea how to finish. And because it's totally new and totally unique to me, I'm able to go in with a different perspective and we finish the track so quickly. If you don't want to collaborate with someone else, bounce some ideas off of a friend. Bounce some ideas off of some of your peers. Ask for feedback. Getting a new perspective and a new fresh set of eyes or ears can introduce a whole new perspective onto your piece of work that you were never able to see. 8, learning something new. Take a class, watch a tutorial for free on YouTube, read a book. New knowledge often sparks new ideas. If you're stuck, watch a tutorial on something in your field. YouTube and Google are just an endless resource. You can find tutorials on almost anything. I bet you your craft is included there. 9, take a break. Rest is the best thing you can do for yourself. Short breaks help improve your problem-solving abilities, which can then translate over to creative flow. Now, here's something that took so long for me to learn. The only way out of a creative block is through. And the only way to get through that is if you're showing up. If you go through a very long time of having creative block and all you're doing is just sitting down on your couch watching TV or neglecting other parts of your life because you're sitting there and you're sad that you have this gigantic creative block and you can't get through it, how do you think you're gonna get through it if you're not even showing up and trying to beat it? There is no way. The only person who can move that needle forward and the only person that's gonna help you push through that creative block is gonna be you. No one else is gonna do that for you. You're the one that has to sit down. You're the one that has to push through. Even if you just sit down, you try to beat it, you try to push through, and you make nothing for 3 hours, or you make the worst song you've ever heard or the worst painting on the planet, you're just chipping away until you finally break through. You are the only one that can break yourself out of that. Creative block is normal. Every artist faces it. For me personally, when it comes to music production, if I'm feeling stuck creatively, I'll try to recreate another song. In that process of recreating someone else's song, I'm never gonna actually recreate exactly how it sounds. I'm gonna find new avenues and new lanes for me to take because my process and my brain is not the same as the person who made it. It's almost impossible to recreate a song exactly how it is. You're gonna deviate from that and you're gonna find your own lane, and then you'll have new ideas to work from. Another thing I do is I try to remix a song. These new AI tools, I can just separate vocals like that. So I'll get that vocal and I'll try to make a remix of it. Even if I'm never gonna release it, it's something for me to base my creative idea off of. If I have that vocal taken care of, it has a bit of melody, it has a bit of direction for me to take the track in. Who knows, maybe you can end up swapping out that vocal for something original, and boom, you have a song ready. In my last video, I focused on how to set goals and tools that many creatives can use in order to improve their work and accomplish them properly. Highly recommend checking that out. So to close, here are my 3 main takeaways. Build a routine that includes time for rest, celebrate small wins to try to keep yourself motivated, stay curious and never stop learning. Creative block does not define you as an artist. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to grow. So the next time you hit a wall, remember, you have the tools in order to climb over it, and you are the only one that can push yourself through. If you learned something new here, please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. I answer every comment, I answer every direct message. I appreciate it all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.